Alright, so this is another comic review, and this one comes from my good friend Chris. Chris, thanks again for this, and for these comics and the others. So let's talk about the Grimm universe, Sleeping Beauty. So, this is a 72-page one-shot, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty much a one-shot involving Sleeping Beauty. Now, if you don't know the whole MO of of the Zenescope universe, basically what it is that this is basically a retelling, like a darker, edgier superhero telling of certain characters throughout like myths and fairy tales. And a lot of them are pretty sexy, a lot of them are pretty sexualized, but there's more story to it than that. It's just eye candy, really. Yeah. So they've done Robin Hood, they've done this is the new one, Sleeping Beauty. So let's talk about that. But like done Robin Hood, Belle, others, and yeah. So Sleeping Beauty, let's talk about this one. This is one I thought they had already done. Like I legit thought they had already done Sleeping Beauty as a story. Like I legit thought that Sleeping Beauty was already done as a story. Anyway, so let's jump right into it with Zenescope. Grimm Universe presents Sleeping Beauty. So Sleeping Beauty, basically what it is a story centered around a young artist named Rory Norris. And she basically has been an artist who's been painting her nightmares and following around this character named Mr. Dread. Mr. Dread has basically been following her all her life and like hounding her all this time. And one day, while she's on a drive with her boyfriend, what happens is that Mr. Dread takes over her boyfriend's body and tries to kill them both. He dies, but she survives, but is now blind. However, in the accident, activates her powers. Like, it basically activates her powers. And what are her powers? She has the ability, whenever she sleeps, is that she can enter the Dreamverse. The Dreamverse is basically like a dream world, and in there, she's able to fight Mr. Dread. It's very much like it's a very interesting take on Sleeping Beauty, but there's a lot more to it than that. This comic is very much like a mixture of like the Sandman, Doctor Strange, a little bit of Daredevil too. So it's pretty interesting, and it's kind of cool because I thought this was a whole ass trade, but nope. I thought Chris was sending me a whole ass trade. Nope, it's a 72-page book. You hardly ever get to see a full-on one-shot that's like 72 pages. Like usually it's like 64 tops, but this tells the entire story for everything. I guess like they just couldn't drag it out for several issues, or just didn't have the finance to do several issues, so they were just like, fuck it, let's just do one giant one-shot. The costume is pretty cool. I actually kind of dig it. The power set is nothing you haven't seen before, of like, oh, you can travel through the dream world. It is very much like Sandman and Doctor Strange. And also, you always know how like the villains in these are like versions of like Disney villains. Is it just me, or does Mr. Dread look a bit like the Horned King? Is it just me, or does he look like the Horned King? I'm just saying, like, he looks a lot like the Horned King. I'm just throwing that out here, guys. I'm just throwing that out here. So yeah, this is a it's a very well done comic, and there is a Sleeping Beauty in here. There is a Briar Rose, but she's not the main character. Now, you would think that she is the main character, but really she's more of the support for Rory, who is our main protagonist in here. And there is a Maleficent type character, but they don't call her Maleficent. It's Karabos. That's the main villain's name. And, well, the main villain that's upcoming for the sequel, I imagine, Mr. Dread, is the main villain of the comic in this one. So you have that going for you. Anyway, so in here we have this story that's the artwork's pretty fine. I'm actually surprised of how downplayed it is, because usually sometimes they'll do like a bit of TNA in the comics, just because it's Zenescope and they like to have, sexy time but not show any nudity. But no, this is very well reserved. This is a pretty reserved comic. Even the costume itself is very very conservative in not being like over sexualized. So that's so it's a pretty neat. It's also the costume design itself is pretty neat. I do like how the artwork in here and how they really play with the dreamscape, and that how Mr. Dread works. You see, we got some cool dream world stuff in here. But the problem is with a 72-page one-shot, it literally crams everything into this book. It literally crams everything rather than try to stretch something out. So it's literally just trying to be like, okay, here's this, here's this, here's this. And I feel like the ending just kind of happens. The ending just really happens. And I'm curious to see where they'll go with this and how much it will tie into the rest of the Grimm universe that Zenescope is doing. But that's the problem is it really it's trying to do everything at once, so it's just trying to be like, okay, wrap it up, let's go. So that's the only problem I have with this. But other than that, this is pretty good. If you're looking for like a cool one and done story, this is about $9. Yeah, it's a pretty decent comic. If you are a major fan of Zenescope, I would definitely say give this a look. It wouldn't hurt. Anyway, so once again, Chris, thank you so much. As I promised, this would be the first book he asked me. When I got this, he said, this is the first book I want you to read and review. And I was like, can do. So I'm a man, to quote Joker, I'm a man of my word. So, yep, here you go. Anyway, so you guys, if you've read this, tell me what you thought of it. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse. Bye, y'all.